Heading forward, it's time to look at the American League Central. Brianna, obviously, look, the NL Central was not good. The AL Central equally not good.
It's
That's the
worse.
nicest way I can say it. But what's your predicted order for the American League Central?
So my predicted order is going to be the White Sox.
Hmm.
Uh, I was about to say the other name, the Guardians. I almost had to put money in that jar. The Twins, Tigers, and last but not least, actually yes, the Royals, who just have not shown anything. Like it doesn't seem like they've gotten better. I don't understand what Kansas City is trying to do here.
Yeah, it's a team that doesn't want to win. Let's be honest. Kansas City, Detroit. Well, I shouldn't say that. Detroit, I think, will eventually, but Kansas City is a franchise that is ran by an owner that just doesn't want to win, or essentially spent his money on the Eric Hosmer and the Mike Moustakas days, and that was it. I agree with you. I think they finished last. Now, I feel like I'm getting sucked into the 2021 situation again. I'm picking the Minnesota Twins to win this division. I think they're good enough. I think they get Carlos Correa back after he went to, it seemed like every other team this offseason. Wanted to sign with every other team, ended up still having to be back in Minnesota. I think Minnesota has the best pitching staff, and I think they have a good enough offense going forward. I will say the loss of Luis Ariz will hurt, but I like Minnesota to start or to win the division. I should say I have the Guardians in second, the White Sox in third, and then Detroit. Actually, have Kansas City getting ahead of Detroit. I think I'm still frustrated with what we've seen from Detroit overall. It's essentially Javi Baez and 24 other guys. I don't like Detroit too much, at least with Kansas City. The Bobby Witt Jr., who is maybe one of the top 10 shortstops in the American League, and I think that's enough to get them out of the cellar in the national or in the American League Central. But Brianna, do you have any picks for your over unders? As we have Cleveland at 86.5, Minnesota 84.5, White Sox 83.5, Detroit and Kansas City both 68.5. I'd have to imagine you think the White Sox go over 83.5 if they're winning the division in your mind.
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to go into Detroit for a second outside of all of this because I know I really wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, a 21-year-old Nicaraguan pitcher struck out the heart of the Dominican Republic's roster or lineup and was immediately signed to a minor league deal with the Tigers. How did this guy fly under the radar? And how are the Tigers the only ones that were in the stands for this game? And grabbed him after he struck out the heart of that lineup.
Yeah, well, obviously, I think Nicaragua. This is a kid who I think his last name was Hamill or something like that. I forget his name, but he only played in Haber. Thank you, Heber, something like that. It was in that area. You've seen the story.
Devers, Machado, Julio Rodriguez, and Juan Soto.
No, he didn't.
Machado had a double.
Yeah.
No. Machado had a double, but Devers, Rodriguez, and Soto all struck out.
Yeah, and they were some nasty pitches as well. It wasn't kind of the Czech Republic 75-mile-an-hour changeup where Ohtani's just as used to 98 the whole time. He was throwing gas. He pitched last year only in the Nicaraguan Professional League, so that's kind of how you can fly under the radar. But under the radar, no more. Obviously, the Tigers scout. What a story. I'm sure there will be a Disney movie coming out at some point about his career, or at least them finding him. But it was a truly great story, and really something that a lot of people who are kind of bah humbug on the WBC, I point to things like this. That's what's the really, really interesting stuff about this tournament.
But yeah, that was all I got.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think obviously I do expect Minnesota to go over 84.5. I think Cleveland's under 86.5. I think they come back to the pack a bit this year. think their pitching won't be as dominant as it was last year, but it's going to be really, really interesting to see these central divisions. They're going to be at the bottom of the barrel. Let's be honest. One of these teams is going to win the division. I don't think we'll see a wild card team out of these divisions. But I do think at least the American League Central is a little more competitive than the National League. Just judging by our picks, obviously a little different, at least in the top three. But